You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian
and
Keith Cheatham.
We are coming to you next, right now, live. I don't know why I said next. Well, I was going to say that we're no longer doing the green. We're back to our normal red.
Yes.
Lighting it back up, Red Moon Red. A lot of craziness out there in the world today, and we just want to come to you and still have the compassion for everything going on out there, and we also just want to, kind of maybe bring some peace into people's lives and give them some time to get away from all the hectic and craziness, and hopefully we can bring you a little entertainment.
Watch some movies.
In the midst. Yeah,
yes.
Watch some movies. So we are glad to be with everybody this week. Everybody saw, hopefully, in the headlines there. Want to give a special little birthday shout-out to Sean. His birthday is tomorrow.
And to you.
I know.
Your
I didn't
birthday.
I didn't want to say that.
He wanted, he wanted the attention.
He wanted one of us to say it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to.
I didn't want to
Birthdays
seem
today.
too conceited.
We celebrated both of your birthdays today. It was
excellent.
It was very
It was.
nice.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
very
I'd like
beautiful.
to just go ahead and say thank you to our special neighbors, Brian and Kristen, too,
Absolutely.
for doing that.
Helping
And my
us
wife,
out.
Amelia, she came and brought the kids, and we just had a little shindig.
Little Taco Tuesday.
I like
was.
shindigs.
It was nice.
So we're happy to have her be fat and happy, have our bellies filled, and
Yeah.
come on here now
Too
and
full.
talk about movies.
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 Drinking a little mango kush.
Ooh, mango. Ooh, mango kush. That's right.
Wheat ale. It's really good.
I
is.
already had one. I can't have any more. I already said
Brandon's a
before,
lightweight.
I'm a lightweight, and I
Yeah.
can't have any while I am.
Keith provided these
Oh yeah,
for
he
our
did.
birthday.
He sure did.
It's very good.
I
It
like
is
them.
good.
I appreciate that.
I never had it until I took a gamble, but I think it paid off.
No,
think
it was
you
good.
did.
It's very good. I can't have one while I'm hosting. Otherwise, I don't know how I'll get
Then
through
he
the
starts
show.
pushing random buttons, and who
And
knows
it just
what
starts
happens.
going crazy.
Our friend Neil in Boston had Taco Tuesday also.
Oh, he did.
yes.
Well,
Well, what kind
Apparently that's a thing.
of what kind of
I
meat
mean,
do you like on your?
That's
your
amazing.
I
taco?
thought we made that up. But I guess not.
That's- Well, Thirsty Thursdays is yeah. But Taco Tuesday's always been a thing though.
What's that for? Like
I
girls
think
that
Sean
can't
was-
find a date? Thirsty Thursday.
So I think Sean is being
Like,
facetious about
she's
the
thirsty.
Taco Tuesday.
Well, all I know is that I like chicken and beef,
Yeah.
but I had chicken, beef, and what was the other one?
There was only
no,
there was
what
no
was the
beef.
sausage?
Yeah, the sausage.
Yeah, there was no beef though. There was chicken and chorizo.
And
chorizo.
turkey.
And
My
there was
aunt
turkey.
brought
Turkey. I
Yeah.
thought
It was
okay,
disguised
well,
as beef, but it was turkey.
They
It
brought
was
that
fur-
for the boys,
Yeah, the
right?
kids won't eat all that fancy stuff.
So yeah.
But I will say this is the first time
See,
I've had a
but-
taco
but
with all
you couldn't
three of
tell-
those meats on it.
Dang.
So you couldn't tell it
I
wasn't
know.
beef though.
I know
It
I
was
couldn't.
ground turkey.
I'm fine as long as you mask it. I don't care. Like if you make a good soy burger, I'll eat it. I don't care. I haven't tried that one at Burger King. They got like a soy burger.
I have. It's not
Spicy.
soy.
Yes,
it's
Megan,
veggie.
it was
Or
spicy
it's
beef.
vegan.
Yeah, it's good. It does not taste like a Whopper, but
The
it still tastes
Impossible
good.
Burger?
The Impossible, yeah, the
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
It does not taste the same as a regular Whopper, but it still does not taste bad. I liked it, but it's not the same taste at
See,
all.
my dad's not a tofu or bean burger kind of person.
I can't do tofu.
But he tasted it, and he thought it tasted exactly like a
Oh, really?
regular Whopper.
See, I don't think it tastes the same, but I do think
the
it still
texture
tastes
to
good.
me would be different.
Maybe that's what it was because
The
it was
texture
a
didn't feel
little
like
it was a little
feel like a
tougher.
burger.
It wasn't bad, but it was a little tougher.
It was like a sponge.
I actually wouldn't mind that. I don't think. I
Chewing
feel
the
like
sponge.
if it's tougher than a burger, I'm kind of like.
well, I don't feel like
I'm
it was
interested.
spongy, but I just oh
joking.
yeah.
That's
Brandon likes sponge. Ask him about his milk sponge. He loves
I'm
that.
telling you.
That's his
What?
favorite dessert from
It's
Shalimar.
milk
I
sponge?
forget what it's called. It's
It's
an
some
Indian
type
dessert.
Of, it's an Indian dessert, and it's like a type of cheesecake. But it
they
has a
they
spongy,
call it cheesecake.
yeah.
It's not.
It has
It's
a
not.
spongy texture, and Brandon loves it, and we've all laugh at his
It's
love
so
of the
good.
milk
that,
sponge.
That being
I watched
being like
a kid
naked
throw
on
up
a beach,
at Shalimar, and I've never been back.
I love Shalimar, so good.
lamb tikka masala.
You watch a kid throw curry up. It's
I don't want to talk
disgusting.
about it. Ugh.
I still go back and
And
eat.
I couldn't turn away. Like Neil knows this; he was there. But like
like-
they have this one room has a mirror on the wall, like a huge mirror.
Yeah.
So the kid's behind me throwing up, and I'm like, oh, God. So I turn around, and I still see the kid in the mirror throwing up.
You can't
So
get
literally
away
had
from
to,
it.
like, shut my eyes until she was done.
Well,
She
you're
was like,
one of those that if you see it, you're going to
oh,
start
I'm
puking.
Oh, yeah. If
Yeah.
I smell it.
Ugh.
Seeing it's one thing,
Neil
but
said
once I
that-
smell it,
He said that Brandon's milk sponge is disgusting.
It's fantastic. It's one of the best desserts I've ever had. I have to get it every time I go. I can't pass on it. And I
It
feel
doesn't
bad because
taste
if we're
bad,
trying
I
to
just
catch a
can't
movie
get
or
past
something,
the spongy texture. I'm like, this is weird.
it tastes so good. It's
Yeah.
so I wish I had that for my birthday.
I wish we had a movie review.
Yeah,
Do we have one of those?
you
we
know,
do.
I think we do. And believe it or not, it's actually
Better than sponge milk?
Well,
Or milk
no
sponge
sponge?
or whatever it's called.
it doesn't beat that.
milk balls is what
Yeah.
Megan calls it.
Oh.
So
Milk. Where are you seeing
she
these
said milk
texts?
balls. I've had
I don't
those.
see this.
Malt balls?
I must
No, it just
not
says
be.
milk balls.
Oh, my feed's frozen up.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully we're not frozen.
No, no, it's
no.
playing.
But
on
thankfully,
mine.
we've got a better movie than last week. Cavalcade was a
Was
letdown.
terrible, yeah.
It was not a Best Picture winner. This week, we've got a much better one. Oh, yeah. It's not better than Sponge Cake. Keith, why don't you set it up for us?
Here's my review of It Happened One Night.
Oh, gosh, I'm not fast enough. I got to get to it.
Oh, jeez. We're off to a great start.
When I think of Hollywood's golden age, I think of Frank Capra. While Capra may not have been as prolific as the likes of Alfred Hitchcock or Cecil B. DeMille, Capra had something else entirely: a love for American idealism and the common man. Many of his films, including the one being reviewed today, were not loved immediately by critics. Audiences, however, adored them, and time would prove his films to be amongst the best, with modern critics relenting that he holds a place alongside the greatest directors of the past. Nominated at the 6th Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director for his film Lady for a Day, Capra ultimately lost both to Frank Lloyd and his film Cavalcade. Capra would get his shot the very next year when It Happened One Night became the first of only 3 films to ever have won what is considered the Big Five: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. It Happened One Night was a massive financial success, and audiences loved it, despite critics giving it middling reviews. Even actress Claudette Colbert believed the film to be terrible, going so far as to skip the Oscar ceremony out of the belief that she wouldn't win anyway. Why such a disparity between Hollywood and the audiences who actually went to see the film? Up until now, most Best Picture winners had been either sprawling epics or revolutionary in the film industry. The same industry felt It Happened One Night was neither. What they failed to see was that it was revolutionary in ways that had yet to be acknowledged. It Happened One Night arguably has more scope than both Cimarron and the previous year's Cavalcade. Following its leads as they travel cross-country from Miami to New York, the set pieces may have been simple, but through the constant use of crane work in the cinematography, allowing for mobility and a constant on-the-move feel that complements the narrative and a compelling story that was and still is relatable. Starring Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert, about 2 people from different classes meeting on a bus as Ellie Andrews, played by Colbert, is fleeing from her father, who is attempting to have Ellie's recent marriage to pilot King Wesley annulled over the belief that Wesley is only after Ellie's money. Peter Warren, a newspaper writer portrayed by Clark, comes across Ellie when the two are forced to sit next to one another on the bus. Peter learns of Ellie's plight and soon resolves to help her get to New York to be with Wesley and get a great story for the paper along the way. As the two travel together, however, opposites attract, and what Ellie believed she wanted out of life may not be the case. Gable and Colbert drive the film from start to finish. The chemistry between the two and the casual and believable way in which they fall in love resonated with audiences. The film lends a tone of realism absent from many Oscar winners before it. Add in great humor and the sense of the everyday person Capra was known for, and it's easy to see why the film won the awards it did, and has stood the test of time. While some dated sensibilities and dialogue remain, they do not detract from the core of what makes the film so good. While it may be the 7th film to win Best Picture, it is the first to truly feel like a film that could and would resonate with audiences throughout time. I give It Happened One Night 3.5 out of 4 stars.
I'm sorry. Nobody's going to understand what I just said, and they don't need to. But hey, 3.5 out of 4 stars for Clark Gable and Frank Capra and
Claudette
Colbert.
Claudette Colbert.
Colbert.
Yeah, she was good too.
She was
She
fantastic.
never. Yeah, she doesn't have the notoriety, of course, of Clark Gable.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was good. I liked it.
That was a fantastic movie. Much better than
Cavalcade.
I don't even want to go back to that.
Like I
movie.
said in my
No
review,
reason to.
like Cavalcade and Cimarron were praised for being these huge epics, and this movie had way more scope than either of them had.
Yep.
So
And just focusing on the two people at hand, and that was all it needed.
yeah.
It just needed those two people and their relationship, and it carried the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, it's a testament to, I think, the early days without your, I mean, you look at Woody Allen and what he's done with just the comical behavior, but also, again, something that's so simple in terms of story, but when you have characters who can play it off well, it's like, how do you think he got so good? These kind of movies early on in the day.
I agree.
So to see it happen one night actually be one of those films that I think truly does stand the test of time because you can watch it and see similar. I mean, Sean, you even mentioned kind of off mic about how it is like a classic cliche story, but for it to be the 7th Academy Award Best Picture winner and it being so early on in the days of Hollywood, this was something really unseen for that day.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of romantic comedies that get Best Picture.
No,
Yeah.
So it's kind of
True.
It's unique in that respect because it does have those qualities of a romantic comedy. Especially, it really reminds me of some of the older like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan and When Harry
You've
Met
Got
Sally
Mail
and
and-
You've Got Mail, As Good as It Gets. It kind of reminds me of some of
Yes.
those movies where the opposite attracts.
Yeah.
And I like that dynamic. But I gave it 3 out of 4.
Same here. I
But
actually landed on
but
3.
I can understand where the 3.5 comes from. I would say like maybe 2 scenes in the movie were my favorite, and then there's a couple of like minor gripes that I had with it, and I don't know how you feel about it, but at the beginning of the movie when she jumps off the boat and all that stuff, that kind of was really off to a bad start for me because I'm like, I liked the scene where she gets slapped.
Yeah.
But when she jumps off the boat and starts swimming, I'm
It
just
was
like,
very
where is she going to
melodramatic.
go? She's out in the middle of the ocean, and then they send a boat out to go find her, and they're like,
we can't find her.
we couldn't find her. She got away. And I'm like, well, where'd she go?
Oh, she-
You don't get
She
away. You
swam
just
off.
die.
I thought the same thing.
I thought that was
Um,
kind of silly.
For
But
me, like, no, I agree. Like the I thought some of the beginning was a little melodramatic, and it wasn't very clear. Like the story setup from the beginning wasn't clear until the end.
Yes.
Like, I didn't really understand what was going on between her and her father
And
until the
King
end of
and
the
all
movie,
that.
and then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, now I understand. So I didn't care for that. But I told Brandon, like, the thing that I liked about that scene, even though I agree, it was really goofy for her to just jump off the boat, I did tell Brandon I did like the shot because most films before then, especially the Academy Award winners, were very static and you had this one set piece and that's where you stayed, and the fact that the camera actually follows her go off of the set piece of the boat into
Yes.
the water,
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's impressive. It's kind of a dumb plot point, but it's impressive.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it was one of those things where because of what the movie turns into, it's forgivable because for one, it is early on.
Yeah.
But two,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of one of those, I think a humorous moment in the sense that it's kind of like, this is just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
We don't need to focus on it too more. So I think if it would have been played up a little bit more, like today I could see it kind of being a lot more funny or done in a much more, you know, not so realistically, but just like, we don't know where she went.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
just gone.
Right.
And you're like, what?
yeah,
Like, how did that
I feel like
happen?
now, like I sat and watched the movie, and I'm just kind of like, it didn't shock me that she jumped off the boat. It
Yeah.
made me laugh because I'm just like, where the hell is she gonna go?
Yeah, she's
but I
just
can
gone.
see people in 1934. Like I'm imagining almost like my grandmother watching this movie and just going, "Oh, she jumped off the boat!" Like you know, like
Yeah.
being stunned by that.
Yeah.
because that's something that obviously there's a lot of things in the movie that are a lot different between men and women
Yeah.
now, and there's than what you see in the film. So I think that plays along with that. You can't really see a woman diving off of a boat back then, and to get away from this situation. And a lot of the things that are said between her and Clark Gable are things that you would think, wow, that was pretty, I can see like feminists and stuff today being upset about it.
Right.
I thought it was funny because I understand the real,
and a lot of it was banter
the
too.
playfulness.
I was
and
gonna say,
stuff between,
I think it becomes. I think you're right. I think a lot of people would look at it today and
Yeah.
kind of be like, "Oh, that's a no-go." But
Yeah.
it's the same thing. I think if you see it with just honestly an equal eye across
Yeah,
the board,
yeah,
and you
it's
just
really
watch
comical,
it,
yeah.
it's comical, and you see the relationship seeing as it's two individuals who have their own personalities who butt heads, and it's like even her and a lot of the people she comes up against that are opposite of him.
Yeah.
That she is like a bull. She's like
Oh, yeah,
bullheaded and
yeah.
stubborn, and that's one thing that attracts him. But he's just as much that kind of saying he gives it right back.
Yeah.
And I think there's something endearing about it, and of course you see that unravel throughout the rest of the film, and you begin to see their relationship. I mean, that is obviously the anchor of the movie, but to me what is so brilliant about it and what makes it timeless is it's the subtleties throughout the film. It is the slow build of seeing their relationship truly become something that you're fighting for in the end, that you want to see actually be pulled off. You want to see them end up together, and you wouldn't have that had you not had those two actors in that role, playing those
chemistry.
parts.
The chemistry between both
fantastic,
Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert was fantastic. The dialogue, I mean, I love the banter back and forth between them. It was very well done, very believable. There's some clunkers here and there with dialogue, but I never felt like it came from them.
Yeah,
it came from like supporting characters. But I thought,
and
like,
again,
him and her, I thought
honestly,
were very well done.
And that's probably why I ticked off a full star. But a lot of that, and I don't want to. It's not so bad that you can't live with it. It's just a lot of it is the sign of the times.
Yeah.
It is just like the screenwriting was a little bit still kind of. It isn't what I'm used to today, which is, obviously I'm used to seeing movies that have gotten away with, how we talk today and how we communicate today. So it's interesting to see, newer movies that take on the same kind of story, beats, but they're obviously very much set in today's world. So it's like just not having that same language is not something that I tick off too much, but it is one thing that from those minor characters.
I was going to say, even movies made today about the past still have, I feel like, dialogue that feels real and believable, even if they don't use the same type of like colloquialisms or such.
Right.
It's still something that's like they speak like they would have in the 40s, but it sounds believable. I feel like some of the dialogue in some of these early movies, they don't quite talk the way even people back then may have. They're trying to be a little bit more over.
They're trying to
over exaggerate, a bit more entertaining.
True.
And they're still used to some of like the stage show type thing, which was a problem.
Well,
that Grand
also, they were
Hotel
trying
had.
to be. I feel like sometimes they were trying to be clean.
Yeah.
When it's just like, that conversation in real life would have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
But because we can't say that in a movie, we're not going to put that line in there.
Right.
I really felt like they walked the line with a couple of the of the scenes.
And again, that's credit to the movie for at the time that it was released to be able to do that.
Yeah.
To be able to reach out to, I think, the common folk and be able to take on that, that ability for people of normal everyday backgrounds to see it and connect.
And there's a couple of things in the movie that I feel like back then would have been a little bit of risque, the leg scene, and then also even
the
just
walls
the walls of Jericho
yeah,
and them undressing
hilarious.
on one side of the sheet from each other. I feel like that even back then would have had audiences in the theater kind of
scandalous.
Going, this is just, they're not married and they're sleeping under the same roof.
Yeah.
And he was trying to be chivalrous in separating it because he didn't want to destroy her honor and he wanted to defend his own. And I understand that.
He also was very, early on, I liked the plot point of like, hey, I don't feel that way about you.
Yeah.
Don't flatter yourself.
And of
I'm
course,
here for money.
the scoundrel is going to fall for the princess. Like,
And,
it every time.
And vice versa.
But exactly. There was one scene, and actually, since you're talking about the walls of Jericho, the one scene that I would say probably ticked off the star for me was when he's laying in bed and he's talking about what he imagines his woman being like. And he wants to go to an island and wants to live there and do all this. And she's on the other side, and I understand, like, she's feeling like, I want those things. I'm that person. But her facial expressions during that exchange, like, ruined that scene for me because I felt like there needed to be a lot more subtlety to her.
Yeah.
To her.
She was very
I wanted to be able
yeah.
to see her thinking those things instead
Imagining
of, like,
it.
yeah, he's like, I want a woman who just is spontaneous, and she's got this look on her face like, like, that's me,
Yeah.
She almost even mouths it, and I'm just like, I don't need you to do that. I just need you to
react.
to
his
react.
vision.
Yeah. And so when she comes over and she's confessing her love and everything, I thought that was a little bit much at the moment, because I didn't really feel like throughout the entire film that you really get much of a sense of them falling in love. I felt the flirtatiousness.
I did.
I felt that. Well, I mean, the way he. I like it because it's funny, but the way he treats her through the majority of the film
It's kind of
is
talks down to her.
Yeah, it's almost like kids on the boy that likes the girl on the schoolyard.
Yeah, he's being mean
Yeah,
to her and
she's
picking
got
on her.
cooties, but he really likes her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I got more of that through the film, and then finally at the very end, he finally admits that he loves her, but I never felt like I saw that
Yeah.
from him because of the way he treated her. There's a lot of moments where he does defend her and where he does kind of step up or carry her instead of making her walk through
I
the
was gonna
swamp.
say,
And there's a lot of
yeah,
those.
One scene that kind of played that off to me and made me realize he really cared about her was when you got the other guy who's like, "Hey, we can go in
Yeah.
on this together.
Yeah.
And we can split the prize money if we turn her in."
Yeah.
And he takes him out into the woods and he basically
scares him.
he
Yeah.
scares the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And I loved that because it showed that he does care about her and
Yeah.
he does
Oh, yeah.
actually genuinely feel for her. And I think it was what I liked about it was that his character didn't break from how he treated her, but yet on the surface, as much as he was like, it was kind of like a schoolyard romance of, I do like her, but I'm not going to tell her.
And
but
I
at the same
felt-
time, it was like as much as he was guarded, I think he showed enough of a interest to be like, obviously, I have feelings for you.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
was gonna say I felt that fully paid off with his conversation with her father because I loved like at that point like he was already living because he thought she was going to be with the other guy.
Of course,
and,
I loved her.
And
yeah.
and I loved
Yeah.
like the build up and
That
the finally
was good.
And the father kept asking him like do you love her? Then finally at the very end he's like,
Yes,
of course
I
I
do.
love her,
Yeah,
but don't
yeah.
hold it against me. I'm crazy too, and slams it.
Yeah.
I was like I loved that.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, another instance of just how fantastic this was, especially I can't imagine for back then, was the scene where they've got some cops looking after and they think they've spotted her and they come knocking on their cabin door.
Oh, that was
And they obviously he strikes up this huge fake conversation.
Oh, like they're fighting. Yeah.
And they play along, and I think it was one instance where you see them ribbing with each other and playing off of each other that you're just like, again, it builds this camaraderie of, oh, they really do understand and feel and can see each other's, next move.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, it was all that chemistry of every single situation they ended up in. It continued
I felt the chemistry enough to start dating someone, but I didn't feel the chemistry enough for her to be like, I don't know how I could ever live without you. Like, I'm just like, you don't even really know this guy.
A lot of
Like,
of
you know that
early
he's not-
romantic.
yeah.
I mean, look at and that, it wasn't even a good movie. The Broadway Melody. Look
Oh,
at how
yeah.
quickly.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
And it's like because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of exposition. It's just immediately we're madly in love. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
movies have gotten more realistic.
And maybe
in
I've
that.
gotten used to needing more
Yeah.
than
Well,
that.
and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that is part and parcel our day and age of watching television series and seeing things play out in kind of like a slower
But
pace.
even in movies, like modern movies, there is
True.
a little bit. They even if it's quick, they'll show like the meeting and then jump years ahead to establish that they have been in a relationship.
Well,
They don't
look at Han
immediately
Solo and Princess Leia. I mean, I know that's off the wall, but that's a romance in a series of films that you want to happen. You
Yeah.
know it's going to happen, and it's like, but they start out the scoundrel and the princess,
Yeah.
and they go back and forth at each other. You can see that they hate each other, hate each other, but it's not. It slowly breaks down
Yeah.
to the
We
point
just-
where you know that they love each other, and I never found that
Yeah.
in the movie
I think-
until the very end
Till the
when he
very-
has
yeah.
the conversation.
I think we just need 3 movies.
Yeah,
it
true.
happened.
We need another one.
One
And the
night.
Yeah.
and then you
You
got 3
just
movies.
do like
to-
Night of the Living Dead. It happened one night.
The
it
other
happened
thing, this
one
movie-
day. It happened one
This movie
dusk.
made me
Yeah,
want a
there you
cigar. You know what? This movie made me want a cigar while I was watching it.
Yeah, Clark Gable, man.
The dad has always got
Yeah.
the
Yes.
cigar. And I'm just like, man, it's
I
making me
need-
want to go out back and smoke a cigar.
I need a cigar and some brandy.
Yeah. No, I could do without the brandy.
Some
but
bourbon.
Oh,
That's right.
But yeah, that was
Yeah.
it was a
it
good
happened
film.
One night.
It was
One of the
fantastic.
better ones that I have seen so far.
Of the best
out
pictures.
One of the
yes,
best pick.
yeah.
Of the 7 we've seen,
I would
yes.
definitely recommend watching it. Yeah, if
It
you
was
can.
it was definitely it's worth way more than what we've seen so far. I'd say probably a close second would be All Quiet.
Yeah,
honestly, Wings. I still loved Wings. I thought I know
Sean
I
did
know, I know
Sean
Sean
did
did
not.
Yeah.
He's like,
And that's the
pass.
good thing about this is we all have differing opinions on
Yeah.
it. So.
I think it's great to revisit these older films and actually finally, give you our thoughts on what we think about, what Hollywood considered to be timeless classics. So with that said, let's move on to the topics of the week. We've got our first one up right now.
Yeah,
What is it?
Right now.
right now
Because the only right now
is
is right now. Keith knows.
I know it. I'm waiting.
No, we are actually talking about the fact that the movie industry
It's still struggling.
is still struggling. Theaters are opening across the country, but
They have no movies to play.
they have no movies and they're staggered. Some states are open, some aren't. Some are choosing not to open. The major chains, obviously, we've heard are not really opening until July 1st. But the real question is are studios using this time right now to take advantage of the theaters and their 90-day exclusive window? So that is the question that we have up for topic of debate is, do we think that the 90-day exclusive window for theaters is over? Has it finally come to an end because of the coronavirus pandemic? I'm going to toss it to you guys. What do y'all think?
That's a loaded
I think
question.
I think it's still. I mean, it's really too early to tell until like movies start going back. Obviously, I mean, we've already seen the beginning of this fight with Universal and AMC, and the fact that Trolls released straight VOD
and
without
NATO
a theater. Yeah, NATO.
NATO's in on it too.
That's right.
National Association of Theater Owners.
Always got to clarify.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. I understand why the 90-day window was originally there. But, I mean, it's the same thing as technology always progresses. It's the same thing. As time moves on and different platforms are invented and different things happen, so too do things change. And sometimes other things kind of dwindle as a result. And, I mean, I don't want to see theaters go away at all because I love theaters. But, yeah, I could see, like, foreseeably in the future, 90-day windows going away. And, of course, theaters are going to fight it.
I would say we've got rumors that Tenet, obviously, Nolan's still pushing for a theatrical release. I believe it's Paramount that has already come out. I forget. I think they're the distributor of Tenet. But
I think you're right. Yeah.
They've already come out and said that they have to have at least 80% of theaters open before they would consider releasing it in a theatrical window. So that already hurts its chances of possibly being released on that first weekend in July. Because now it's like, with that being the case, Nolan may get his wish after all, but it just may not come at the time in which he wants. So I don't think Nolan can really argue with that. I mean, if he's got to delay the movie, if he still wants to, stand strong and hold by his theatrical release, then he's probably going to have to wait for that window to open back up
to hold it,
to be much wider. So and the other one being Mulan is possibly being touted as being pushed back to just video on demand because it had a release this June, but now is no longer on the slate for that.
And I mean, originally they were going to go ahead and release it in July, and now they're even, like they said, they're questioning even doing that because theaters aren't going to be open.
Those two films in general, it's like, for one, do you see them, pushing those back or putting them on video on demand?
I think small. Well, sorry, you can go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think Mulan would. We were talking about it earlier with the diversity side, or from that aspect, that would be a movie. I don't think that's a movie Disney wants to do that with.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that if they do video on demand and it's not Disney Plus, like if you actually have to pay for the movie, I think they'll make more money that way. I don't think people are going to be ready in July to come back to the theater. I just don't think, and a lot of the theaters are rumored to be still shooting for an August.
Yeah.
So
well, that's I think what was California.
Yeah.
I think that's why the rumors really started to say that it looks like it's imminent that Tenet's going to be pushed back.
People are still going to be leery of going to the theater, so I almost feel like if Disney wants to recoup the money that movie cost, they should just do VOD. But I want everything to be in theaters, but I'm not hopeful for Tenet now. I don't think that's going.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be in July.
Oh, okay.
No, I think they'll delay it.
You think it's still going
and
to be
I don't know
in
if it'll even get delayed to August. I mean, it's kind of like how many other movies have already been delayed to August or September that should have been released this summer. I think it's going to be pushed back to 2021.
Yeah. Really?
I know. I agree with Sean on that one. I think
that would be huge.
I just don't think there's going to be a good window
for it to open
for
up
them
this
to
year.
release it.
I mean,
without
what about November?
Maybe,
what
they
if
have
you push
so
it
many
for the Oscars?
But here's the thing: so many movies keep getting pushed back that they're starting like.
I mean, hell, are we
the
even going to
production
have an
companies-
Oscars?
The production companies.
I mean, honestly,
there's not
at this
gonna
point,
be
if
anything
there's
to
no
show.
films,
There's going to be like 3 movies in each category.
or is it going to be like finally the Oscars have turned into the Razzies?
Yeah.
Like, it's
But
the only
production
thing that's
companies
out.
have already they're going to be cannibalizing each other.
Yeah.
Like so they don't want. It's like obviously, I mean, Marvel already has 2 movies slated to release this year. And they don't want them too close together.
Right.
And then you have a movie like at the very beginning of 2021. So now it's like everything's almost shifting back like an entire year for them.
Yeah, true.
And it's like Tenet doesn't have that problem because it's not part of a huge franchise. But still, there's going to people be like, well, we don't want to release Tenet up against that big blockbuster. And we don't want to release Tenet up against that. So it comes, like Sean said, a problem of finding the right place to release it. and because they don't want to release it until theaters can hold at least 80% of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
that might not even be until November anyway.
That's
I
true.
mean, the way things are
Well,
going.
I was gonna say,
Well, I
even-
mean, in the fall, if we have this,
A
second
second-
wave,
yeah.
then it might not be full by
Even-
then
yeah.
either.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't see Mulan. I don't see it being pushed to video on demand, only because for diversity's sake, I just don't see them pushing a female-led, Asian
Film.
film
Mhm.
back to video on demand, because I think you'll catch a lot of flack.
Yeah.
And I think people will raise alarms about that and say, if you're pushing all these other AAA movies back a whole year, then why can't you do that for this movie?
Yeah.
Because and not only that, but this kind of does segue nicely into our second topic, which actually happens to be about the close of theaters in China.
Mm-hmm.
And there is expected to be 5,000 Chinese theaters that close permanently.
Yeah.
Because of they're already being shut down from the pandemic. They closed in January to keep the spread
Yeah.
of COVID. And yet
In a country of billions of people, is 5,000 theaters even a lot?
well, I mean,
That's I'm kind of
yeah,
curious about
I mean,
that.
you think about 5,000, it's like that's almost the
It's
entire
the most
U.S.
populated country in the world.
I mean,
just
we have like what 4,000 plus screens here in America.
yeah.
So 5,000 in China, it's like
It's
that
huge,
may be
yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 1 billion people, but even if you say that's a third of theaters,
Yeah.
if they have more than that, I've never looked. I
I
don't
mean,
know the
any
theater count.
any theaters
Yeah.
closing in China is huge to Hollywood because that's such a
exactly. That
huge
was- yeah.
market.
Yeah.
I mean, to them, losing any percentage of that box office means that's less money that they're going to get back. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood now counts on Chinese releases to make a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah.
that they do. We've seen where they edit movies ahead of time specifically for China.
Oh
so,
yeah. Well, we already know. We know from even we talked about it with the Fast and Furious franchise, Transformers, how it makes those movies even more successful because they're huge hits over
Avatar.
there. But then Avatar. But then you think of movies like Star Wars that did not catch on over there. That's uniquely an American made, IP that people cling to here, and you have mad fans here, but not in China.
Yeah.
And it didn't help your box office numbers over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for other huge blockbuster major Hollywood releases, I think the closing of 5,000 theaters permanently
Yeah.
is
I'm
really
actually looking at it now, and I'm thinking of 5,000 theaters, but each theater's got 10 to 20 screens.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
comes out to 27,920 screens.
That's
That would
insane.
be shut.
That's a
yeah.
lot.
So, yeah, I take it back. I think that is a lot.
So that's the thing. I mean, you raised it first, Keith, but that is the bigger question here: is how does that even further deeply connect with Hollywood and how they're hurting? I mean, a majority of there's Chinese releases that reach the top of the box office over there, but I mean, you talk about all of the Disney releases last year that were huge hits over there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Endgame was 614 million
Million
in
in
China,
China.
alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that right there alone, if you knock that down
It's over
to
half $500 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
Avatar would win.
I
Take China away.
never thought I'd count on China. But no, I do think this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
I think also this is a sign of things to come when you don't reopen. I think it's when you allow something, like this pandemic to keep you closed. I understand precautions, but this is the real ramification: is real jobs are lost. The real economy is affected.
people can't stay
And-
afloat at all. Yeah.
No, and you end up really hurting, ultimately hurting the industry as a whole. And while I'm not one to say we should market to China or we should be editing our films and censoring them for the Chinese market, the fact of the matter is let's be honest, Hollywood has done that now for years.
Yeah.
And it is part of what gives us the big major franchises that we've come to expect because of that market. So we can't just completely warrant them and count them out and say they're not worthwhile.
Yep.
So I think it's a huge hit that if this comes to pass and those 5,000 theaters close permanently, I mean, who knows? They're a communist regime. They can prop up anything with,
Yeah.
fake
I mean,
money.
Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage's
So-
career would be gone.
Yeah.
If
That's
China quit
true.
making,
Yeah.
What's he
That's-
What
gonna
would
do?
David
they love
Hasselhoff
him
do?
over there. Matt Damon.
That's
they
Germany.
love Matt
David
Damon.
Hasselhoff
Oh,
is
that's
Germany.
right. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I
As
forgot.
long as they're okay, he's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you quit making Bangkok dangerous and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Oh gosh.
No,
Jeez.
I mean, what's Matt Damon going to do? Yeah.
yeah. China,
The
wall,
Great Wall. Great Wall. Terrible movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see.
I love that. I love that. Team America. That's just Matt Damon.
But no, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I do think it's going to be a huge hit. Another huge hit to Hollywood. I mean, this year has honestly continued to just. It's not
2020 is not pulling any punches at all.
No, it's throwing everything we've got to see what we can stand. I mean,
if the rapture happens this year, like 2020 would be the bomb.
It's like, I guess we don't have to worry about theaters anymore.
Everybody will remember 2020. It's like that was the year.
That was.
What were you doing in 2020?
Well, I wasn't saved, I guess, because I'm still
You were
here.
left behind.
Oh man, we could remake those movies. I'd relaunch theaters.
Nicolas Cage tried to. His career would be done.
But I'm saying you have to wait till the rapture actually happens
to remake the
to
movie.
actually remake the movie.
The people left behind are now making a film about
their life. Yeah, it's no longer a movie.
It's the documentary.
It's a documentary.
And Nicolas Cage would still star in it.
It's a biopic.
But funny enough, China's closing theaters.
Yeah.
However, Netflix just bought a theater.
That's right.
Now
Netflix
we brought this up before.
They're confident that we're gonna survive and bounce back.
I don't know about that. I mean, it is one theater.
Yeah.
And it's really
that's all they can afford.
I don't even think they can afford that.
They can't afford anything they do anymore. They just do it. You're talking about propping up money. That's Netflix.
True.
Yep.
You just wait, man. The day's coming. Somebody's going to come knocking and be like, I want my money back. No, I think it's interesting because, again, I think this is a PR move on Netflix's part. For one, what better a time to buy a theater than now? They're all struggling.
Yeah.
So
got it cheap.
He got it cheap, and they also got it, in L.A., the heart of Hollywood. And they're always constantly trying to push this narrative of we are on the filmmaker side. We are there to push the envelope forward for the industry. Mm-hmm. So they're doing it clearly as a way.
And part of them owning a theater was for them to have a specific theater to say, okay, we're airing these movies in this theater, so they're Oscar eligible.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the interesting part because we still haven't heard if that's legal.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, you're not allowed to be a distributor and a studio and own a theater.
That's why they partnered with the Cinematheque, the American Cinematheque. I mean, you have another company's name on there. It's not solely owned by Netflix.
True. That's probably the
maybe one of the reasons
loophole,
that they all declined to disclose financial terms. It says that they would not disclose any
Tell
of
you
that.
how much they bought it for?
Yeah.
Because if they're
if they even bought it at all. It just says Netflix funded renovation for the venue. And I'm like, they could have just struck a deal to say, we'll throw some cash at you to fix up the theater, but you got to let us show only our films there at certain times.
Yeah. Or I bet you've got to allow us that when we come out with a movie, we have a theater open,
right,
to air it.
Technically, they maybe they don't own it. They
may not.
There's ways. Anytime there's a law or anything, there's always a way around it.
Like they don't have enough
laws.
litigators.
Yeah. Who cares about laws? Who cares about curfews?
Look at them there, drinking their beer. They don't
drinking
care.
The beer out. What time is it? It's 9:38.
Oh well, it's okay. We're a business.
We
are a business. With
you
the
pay
state of
taxes.
Kentucky.
You pay.
I pay my taxes. Maybe. I gotta check.
We think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you all are employees for the red state. No, but the thing is, though, is I think it's an interesting move. I'm okay with Netflix again. I just think that I don't know what their aim is. I get their PR stunts. I know they're continually trying to beat that drum of, hey, we're here for the artist. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to raise a stink in the Hollywood community, even though obviously they will never get rid of that as long as the old guard is still there. You still have moments like Scorsese crossing the line. Scorsese just inked a new deal with Apple. Mm-hmm. Apple's willing to put up the money that it has in its coffers to get a deal with Scorsese and Leo, and it's like everybody's in this to try to get eyeballs on the screen, and I think Netflix is just another ploy for them to say, yeah, we care about the filmmaking community. So I don't know if there's anything wrong with it.
I was going to say, with theaters being shut down and all this going on right now, streaming services are kind of the go-to. It's like you can get deal with the streaming service because you could still make a film and have it released on Netflix or Apple Plus or any streaming service that provides the opportunity to have a movie aired on it.
Yeah. Yep. And we've known this has been their tactic for a while. We've known that this has been the route. We spoke about it I think it was almost last year
Yeah.
in the fall or a little bit before then about them because they were looking at a theater in, I think it was Nevada, that they were going to buy out.
Yeah.
And we originally covered that story. So it's like we've known for quite some time that they've been looking for a
But
means
it has to release in
to-
L.A. for it to be
for be Oscar
Oscar.
eligible.
Yes.
And that's
It was
yeah.
like either L.A. or New York, isn't it? I think.
I
or is it
thought-
just
I
a
thought it
week
was
in
just
LA?
LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a week in LA that it has to be
Yeah.
has to have a theatrical run.
I forgot to mention this earlier. This was from a previous headline about video on demand, the 90-day thing. They did say in the article that those theaters would probably be able to recoup 20 to 30% of all of the revenue that the video on demand gained
Wow.
because it's not within the 90-day window. So it says basically if they do it straight to video on demand and the theater gets cut out
See,
from that, the theater still gets
You know what I'm thinking?
part of
though?
that.
That's early. That's early terms.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
here's what we're
I
gonna
just thought I
do.
would mention it
No,
because it
I
doesn't
think
leave the
that's-
theater
it's
completely
smart.
out.
It's
yeah.
smart on the
Yeah.
studio's part to kind of whet their appetite,
Yeah.
get them suckered into it, and then the next thing you know, when it comes time, it's like, let this continue for years down the road, and then you have
It'll diminish.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
diminish, and you'll have studios who end up sticking back in, and saying, okay, time for you all to, find another way of revenue. We've given you enough time, and well, you can't depend on us in our video on demand service anymore. But again, I don't know. They could play the same angle as Netflix in that regard. They could say, no, we actually do want theaters to survive, and if the studios really prop up theater, the theater going experience, it could be their way of saying, hey, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is.
And right now, studios want those big budget blockbusters in theaters. They don't want to premiere them video on demand. Yeah, like some of the smaller films and such, they're okay with VOD. But Marvel and Disney have already come out and stated that they refuse at the moment to release any Marvel movie on demand. And I mean, there's the same thing with many people making blockbusters. They love that $1 billion box office. I mean, you have Jurassic Park, Fast and the Furious, all these franchises lined up that they're just waiting because they know, we could release it VOD and we can make a lot of money, but we still believe we could make them billions if we wait for the theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think yes, especially for those linchpin franchises.
Yes.
Those are absolutely. I think honestly that is what Tenet's holding out for. And I do think Tenet has. I think what Nolan's worried about is not only just being pushed to video on demand. I think he's worried about if we do push it back and it gets pushed to a window where we're competing against one of those major franchises, it does pit his movie, to perform weaker. Because even though he's got a name,
Good save.
woo, Keith almost toppled his.
He almost
his
dropped
It
the
was
420
going.
all
He
over
almost
the place.
dropped his
There's not
kush.
much. I think it probably would have been okay, but I saw it and I was like, give me that.
yeah,
Give me that.
So smooth, I'm telling you.
Well, while we're talking about video on demand, should we go ahead and bounce into our multimedia
I
segment?
think so. Let's roll that open.
Multimedia.
Multimedia.
Multimedia. We gotta play it.
I
all
like
the
that.
time.
Haven't you heard?
That's
I like
right.
that,
From Revenge of the Nerds. Copyright.
So what are we talking about now? I'm just kidding.
You brought it up.
Streaming services.
Streaming a particular one, indeed.
Well,
I
I think
it
the
released.
topic is
Do you wanna broaden it?
all, but I mean, I'm going to talk about the same. Yeah, I think. Well, there's pretty much one me and Sean want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
HBO
well,
Max.
yeah. HBO Max launched.
Yeah.
How about it?
So supposedly.
yeah.
Have faith.
I was really excited about HBO Max mainly because I would have it for free, so I didn't have to. Because if I had to pay for it, I wasn't going to worry about it.
Right.
But because I was going to get it for free anyways, it's like, oh, this is really cool. They say everything HBO made, everything owned by Warner Brothers, including DC and Cartoon Network. I was thinking that this could compete with Disney. Cartoon Network's huge. Then I get on there, and they have like 12 titles from Cartoon Network, like 10 things from DC, a handful of stuff from. I mean, everything Warner Brothers is there. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Or not Warner Brothers.
Everything HBO.
HBO.
Yeah.
But like they're missing so much content, and like don't get me wrong, Disney doesn't have everything Disney on its service either, but it still has a huge selection.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking through this stuff like you're missing a lot of major titles to be like this, be Warner
Touting
Brothers.
this as a huge
their
release.
big launch.
Well,
Yeah.
I just got news that news came out just within the last couple of days about how they pulled some of their promotional material because it was promoting films that were supposed to be on the service that are not on the service.
The
on launch day.
Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy is one of the hugest ones. All the trailers, like even ads on Facebook, had like that image of him on the bike and everything. Those movies aren't on there.
Oh,
at
if
all.
you get on AT&T's
Wow.
website, like it links you to HBO Max because that's how we're getting it for free because we have specific AT&T.
Well, then you can't complain.
Sorry,
because you're getting
we're getting it for free. But yeah, we have on their promotional stuff. They have the Dark Knight on there.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
not
that's
even on
insane. Yeah, and it's still on there. It's
Wow.
still on.
It's
like
still, they haven't removed
it's on
that?
AT&T's thing when you scroll down.
Well, let's
and
talk about that too
it.
for a second
Yeah.
because this has been one of the I'll be honest with you. I got Disney Plus for free with Verizon,
Me
but
too.
I had no problems
Oh, I wish I had that.
whatsoever when I signed up back in
Oh no,
November.
I want Apple. I want Apple.
Apple TV.
Yeah, I don't have
you got to
that.
buy an Apple product to
I
get
know.
it free.
You
I
gotta-
keep telling my wife to get a new iPhone just so we can get that.
Yeah, just to get it for
Because they're not doing that forever. Like
No.
you have
I
a
think-
there's
I
a
think
certain date.
It'll probably be the end of this year.
Yeah.
I
when the
hope
new
so.
iPhones come out,
Yeah.
they'll probably stop that.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is when I signed up on Verizon, it was through the Verizon app. I got it for free.
Mm-hmm.
No problem at all. Got Disney Plus, signed in with my credentials.
Yeah.
Boom, I've got it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it even charges my Verizon account after the year lapses.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just like with Apple Music. I've got Apple Music through Verizon included in
I
my
did.
service.
Mine expired. They started charging me.
but the question is I mean, you didn't have a great friendly experience at all getting
No.
your content.
No, with AT&T, like through any of their unlimited plans and some of their like DirecTV plans and stuff, you can get it for free. We were getting HBO Go until Max released.
Yeah.
And so you basically get all
okay,
of
here, real
HBO's
quick,
library.
Can you break that down for me? I didn't understand the difference between HBO Now and HBO Go.
HBO Now was
didn't-
just a streaming only version of HBO.
Yes.
HBO Go is like you can get it through AT&T, but you also have access to that if you have Dish Network, Spectrum, anything where
Is
you're
it still
if you're
all
paying
HBO,
if you're paying
though?
for HBO on cable,
Yeah.
like if you're paying for that, you can log in to HBO Go and watch all your stuff on the go.
HBO Go is more kind of current. HBO Now is kind of like HBO Max without Warner Brothers Cartoon
Yes.
Network DC.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
everything
HBO
that,
Now doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that helped solve some of the confusion
Yeah.
when I didn't see it
Yeah.
advertised, but I was still always confused because I'm like, isn't technically because you have an HBO Now app,
Yeah.
so couldn't you
Those
technically
were
log
upgraded
in?
to HBO
HBO
Max.
Now was like $15 a
Okay.
month, and
If you had a HBO
if you didn't
Now-
have cable
yeah.
or whatever, I was already getting HBO Go because we have HBO through our cable service or whatever. So we were already actually through someone else's, but so I already had access
too.
to it, and so but with AT&T, I was getting it for free on my own.
Yeah.
And then when Max came out, they switched it over to where now you get HBO Max included in your unlimited plan. But it took 3 days after HBO Max came out because it launched on the 27th.
Yes.
It wasn't until like a couple of days ago that I was able to actually get that to work, because if you had HBO Go, they had to basically port all of those accounts and roll them over into the Max account,
Okay.
which is completely different apparently. So because it's based on the HBO Now platform and not the HBO Go platform. So they had to basically migrate all of these accounts, and I called AT&T because I'm like, hey, it says on my thing here
You
that
get it
I'm
for
supposed
free.
to be getting it for free, and it's not accepting my password to try to log in. And they're like, oh, no, give it 20 minutes, it'll work. Okay. No.
20 minutes go by.
Yeah,
Nope.
call again. It's like, oh, give it 20 minutes, it'll work. Your account's updating. No, never did. Finally, I got to speak to like a manager after about 2.5 hours on the phone, and the guy flat out told me, he's like, this rollout has been completely botched. It is.
Wow.
I mean, he was just like, we have millions of subscribers that are having trouble. If you're a new subscriber, it's cake. It works immediately. But if you had HBO Go and we had to roll it over, it's taking a long time for them to migrate all these accounts. So he's like, it will work, but it's going to be probably a couple of days to a week before we get it straightened
That's
out.
ridiculous,
It was
yeah.
3 days later, I think, is when it finally let me log in.
Yeah.
And I have it now. But then you get, like Keith said, you get on there, and it's the same crap I had before.
Yeah.
Plus a couple of items
So,
that
I mean,
I'm not even
It really
interested in.
almost is like you said. Yeah, they upgraded the HBO
Yeah.
Now platform to HBO Max, but
And then-
Well,
nothing-
that's
there's-
literally what they
but there's
did. They
nothing
took
new.
the
Yeah.
HBO Now app.
Yeah.
Because if you have the
It's-
if you
it
had
looks
the HBO,
identical.
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
you had the HBO Now app already on your device that supports
just
Max,
updated.
they upgraded
It was
now. Like
fine.
your app, like the next day when you woke up and logged in, it was no longer HBO Now, it was HBO Max.
Well, I
They
noticed.
just-
I noticed
yeah.
that they came out with something. I was reading on Mac Rumors about how they on old Apple TVs they were getting rid of the HBO Now app.
Yeah.
and I guess was to make way for the HBO Max. It was on older.
okay,
it was
the
on
older ones.
older
'Cause,
Apple
like, yeah, the
TVs
newer
where you
ones
had to
just
re-download
automatically
it.
Yeah, they
updated,
automatically
yeah.
update.
Which the only devices it's on are iOS, Android, Chromecast, and then PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
like it's
Which-
not on Roku or Amazon.
That's another thing that frustrates me because I'm an avid Roku user. I've got a Roku on every television.
It made my sister
And
agitated
Roku
too.
has, out of all of
Why
the
in
streaming
world would you
devices,
not support Roku?
Yeah.
is the most third party.
They
It
say
is
they're
the
still
most
going
open
to.
platform. Yeah, but
Well,
it's
of
like,
course,
why would
but-
that
yeah.
not be one
But
of the
why
first
would that not be what
places
you launch
start?
with?
Exactly.
Same with
They
Amazon
said
Fire.
they didn't reach a deal with Roku or Amazon, and I'm like, well,
What deal needed
That's
to be
the thing.
reached?
Roku doesn't. They
Yeah.
just say yes, use
you
it.
just create
they
an
want.
app
They
for
want
it.
every
Yeah.
bit of money they can get.
That's
Like
what I mean-
Amazon, I understand.
yeah,
I mean,
'cause
somewhat of a
competition,
competitor,
but still,
But Roku is, like I said, Roku has more channels than any other streaming device out there. So why not
yeah,
put
all
it on
of
there?
all of the apps my sister uses and watches, like all of her streaming services, are on her Roku TV. She has
Yeah.
a Roku TV,
Yeah.
and this is the only one where if she wants to watch something, she has to switch over
Yeah.
to the PlayStation rather than just hitting a button. On
I need
her
to try
Roku.
that because I've been airplaying it from my phone,
Oh yeah.
and the quality is terrible.
Oh, I have it on my. I stream everything.
Well,
from my
real
Xbox,
quick too. Another
But I mean, it does work really well, like from like my Xbox. and I
Another
imagine the
complaint though
PlayStation
that
probably
you
will.
did
Okay.
have about HBO Max was you said that nothing on there is 4K. It's all 1080.
Oh
right?
yeah, that really ticked me off. I didn't know this until
Which this is
I
getting
was-
into the
yeah,
nerd
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah,
it is,
but it's
still,
multimedia.
Well,
This
this is
is
what you
the
pay
thing.
for.
This is what made
or
me
get
mad
for free
because
Or get for
but here's the thing: Disney's only $6 a month. HBO Max is $15.99
Yes.
a month.
Yeah.
and they missing half their content. They have no 4K or HDR at all. It's just 1080 is the max. And they said the 4K HDR will come, but I'm like,
Why not out of
Yeah.
the gate?
yeah, every streaming service offers 4K HDR now. Like that's just like the standard.
Yeah.
And I got on because I got on Game of Thrones, and it's like 1080. Why is
Yeah.
it 1080? Then I started getting on other stuff. I looked at the DC movies. I looked at, a whole bunch of stuff just to see
HBO
Joker.
Go, if you watch Game of Thrones on HBO Go, it's gorgeous. So it's not just HBO, like it's literally that platform because when you
You're
watch
telling
it,
me HBO Go
I don't
is
know
4K?
if it's my TV upscales everything,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
everything
okay.
says 4K, but I can just tell you it looks amazing. Like it looks better than it did when I was like trying to download it
Yeah.
every week. Like I was downloading the highest quality thing and it streams better than that.
But it frustrated me
So,
to no
and HBO
end.
Max is
Yeah.
terrible looking. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, maybe because you're streaming from. Because
I
I will
think that's
admit,
what I think.
Because
it is.
watching,
Airplay.
watching it on my Xbox, it still looks good, but I can tell there's no HDR. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a nitpicky nerd thing because I'm so used to HDR now. But when I don't have HDR, I'm like,
Yeah.
because
Well, I
I'm
don't
just
think
like,
I don't think it's nitpicky in the sense that all the other streaming services you
Offer
have
it.
offer it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have that same quality across the board,
Yeah.
you know,
because you can
granted,
upscale the
you
4K, you can't upscale HDR. Either you have HDR
Yeah.
or you don't.
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
But the other thing is too is you can give some leeway to them for having like out of the gate problems.
Yeah.
But the only problem I had with Disney Plus when it launched was that other than the initial day it launched, and maybe for the first few days after, because its streams or its just service was bogged down,
The
Right.
servers kept crashing.
the
yeah.
servers kept
Yeah.
crashing. But ultimately, I didn't have any issues with Disney Plus. I will say I still do have some issues on at least the PlayStation platform with Disney Plus stuttering, and sometimes
that's
like
weird,
it'll freeze frame and then it'll take a second and you'll see it fast, like speed up real quick and catch up with itself, even though the audio will play. Again, it's on an old PS4 that I got when
Right.
it launched. It could be just the app, it could be the platform, but ultimately it has worked. The content
Yeah.
has been there.
Yeah.
There are some nitpicky things that, as a Disney nerd
Some
from my
titles,
younger years,
yeah.
that I didn't have. But nothing like, for one, you couldn't. If Disney released Disney Plus without half of its content, they wouldn't have a streaming service.
No.
It's reliant on that.
Yeah.
So my question is especially after the promotional material itself came out.
Right now, it's a glorified HBO Now. It's not the all access like Warner Brothers like hub that they were
Library,
making. They were
yeah.
making it sound like this is Warner Time. This is Time Warner's Disney Plus. It's not.
I mean, do we know
yeah.
is it
It's
just because
HBO
of
with-
licensing deals?
Some of it is.
Is that it?
I mean, some of it is. There are some licensing because Disney actually went out of their way to pay to have some stuff at launch, even though their licensing deal wasn't expired yet. Some of it is like on other content, like on other streaming services.
You mentioned something about like even The Hobbit
Yeah,
was
yeah.
missing the middle
Hobbit
film.
is owned by Warner Brothers. They have all the Lord of the Rings movies, and then they have the first Hobbit movie and the last Hobbit
Yeah.
movie. The second, Desolation of Smaug's not on there. I'm like, how would you put
It's incomplete.
five?
Yeah.
You put 5 out of the 6 Middle Earth movies on there. Like, how do
Yeah.
you do that? Like, it makes no.
Well, I mean, I guess in their defense, Disney Plus had all the Star Wars movies except for The Last Jedi for a while.
At
yeah,
least-
they
here's
took
the-
it off
but
and
that
had
was
to-
a recent release, so I mean,
and at least it was only the last 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't in
Yeah.
the middle
they
of
didn't
the
have
series.
Solo.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they didn't have
it's like-
Solo or Last Jedi.
Last
It wasn't
Jedi.
like they were missing.
I'm not
Empire.
worried about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Trust me, I didn't want to watch it.
But, I mean-
was just like, why is it not there?
But it's like missing Empire Strikes Back. It's like they didn't have all of them but Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
That would make no sense. It
Yeah.
would be stupid. And I mean, that type of stuff was bothering me because I'm like, how do you have a handful of this here and a handful of that there, but not like a complete.
Well, and real quick, other than the botched rollout of just HBO Max in general and it not having the content it promised, which is just a letdown for fans in general. And I think, truthfully, really one of the first kind of black eyes I've seen for the HBO brand. I can't really remember or recall a time where HBO has been,
not praised.
Not praised. I mean,
except for that last season of Game of Thrones.
Well, true. There was a lot of upset people over that.
That was people didn't blame HBO for that though, because HBO
true.
they blamed D&D for
I
that.
know.
Because HBO offered them all the time and money, and they were
Yes.
like, "You can make this last for 12 seasons," and they're like, "No, we just need 7 more episodes."
That was a mistake on their part.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all I could say is, with that being the case, and this really being the first time, HBO's kind of gotten a black eye. The other question is we were kind of hinting at it before, with Disney owning ABC, now HBO having Warner Brothers, and then they don't have a major network though.
Time Warner. I mean,
Yeah.
they owned a
Yeah.
partial stake in the CW.
Well, so they could add CW content, and
Well, they do have some-
they
they do
will.
have
They'll
Gossip
have
Girl
it.
would be on there.
They have,
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yes.
have they have none of the Arrowverse CW shows except for Batwoman, the one everybody hates.
Which is funny because
Who-
Arrow
who's
is like
Batwoman?
is. You haven't
Ruby
seen-
Rose
Yeah,
plays
Ruby
Batwoman.
Rose plays Batwoman.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you haven't seen that?
Yeah.
No.
But
Yeah.
Arrow was praised, and it's
Yeah.
not on there.
No, Arrow's not on there. The Flash is praised. It's not on there, which a lot of those are on Netflix, so maybe Netflix still has the deal for
Yeah.
That's
that.
probably what it is.
But I'm like, it's fun. It's like, why? Like, would you bring like the only show that people
But-
aren't
but
fans
even
of?
then-
Batwoman or Batgirl?
No, Batwoman.
Batwoman.
I
Yeah.
have no idea about this.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's completely.
Batwoman's a different
Yeah.
character, from Batgirl.
Hmm.
They
They're-
did Batwoman because
Is Batwoman a lesbian?
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured.
Yeah. But the
Okay.
thing
I was
is,
like, that's
is-
why they went with her.
So you have, but then you have Peacock coming out with NBC.
And
Yeah.
it's not just
And
NBC; it's Universal.
It's Universal,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also have what was it, Paramount, who could technically partner
Well, I
with.
said I don't understand. CBS All Access is only CBS's show, but CBS is owned by Paramount
Yeah.
and Viacom,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why wouldn't they use that to showcase their Paramount stuff?
Yeah, and they may.
They
They
could
may.
in the
They
future.
could end up using. All I'm saying is you have
There's
these.
just too many.
It's too many.
We used to think it was too many. Now it's just ridiculous.
We did, but now
But
it's kind of
still
consolidating.
cheaper than it is. But it's like, if I buy Disney, HBO, CBS, it's like it's still like I might pay like $50, but that's still cheaper than the $80 cable bill Spectrum would charge
Yeah,
me.
that's true.
Well, I don't know
That's
because
true.
when you're bundling it with your internet, it's cable plus, but you're not getting all of the movies
Yeah.
and all of if HBO Max puts them on there. But the question is if you do have those premium movies that are offered by these services, and you have the 4 major networks that are bundled with major studios,
But then if all these
you could end up having a $40-$50 package to get all of them.
Yeah.
Individually.
But then they would have to agree with each other to do that, and I mean,
No.
they would have to-
I'm not saying a bundle. I'm saying you could buy them.
Oh, yeah,
individually.
yeah.
And if you buy them separately, $40 is still cheaper than a cable bill, and you're getting premium movies on top of it.
My thing is, if
Would
every
that not be still worth it?
It would be, but my thing with thinking is, if every studio starts making their own streaming service, like what's left for Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, who are like,
Why do they care?
They have, they might, because if all
Why?
they have, are,
Well, most of their
all-
content is someone else's.
yeah, most
I
of their
mean,
content's
the
belong-
majority of their 25% was Disney's. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge
That's what I'm saying.
chunk that
If-
just
if-
left when Disney.
If all they have is original content, they don't have that much original content.
Right.
That's the problem Apple TV Plus is having.
Yes.
All they have is original content.
Yep.
And if Amazon Netflix might be okay because they do have a large amount of
Yes.
original. But I mean, if they have to rely solely on original,
But that's what I'm
content,
saying. If Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, like Amazon Prime's in that case too. The problem is the difference between them and Netflix is their original content is slower paced and they don't put it out
Yeah.
as often.
It's good though.
and it's
It is.
good.
Yeah, it is good.
But the difference
But
too.
can you charge people the same amount for just that little bit of original?
Well, that's
content?
the thing.
Well-
Amazon Prime needs to be. They need to have Prime Video separate anyway. I don't think you should have to pay $100 a year for an Amazon Prime
I think
account
it's smart
to get it.
I think it's smart because I think that's how people buy it to begin with. Is they know I'm getting this bundled with. It's like I'm getting my Prime Music, I'm getting my Prime Video,
Photos,
I'm
all
getting
that
my
stuff.
photos,
Yeah.
I'm getting all this shipping for free. It's like it's a whole. The thing is what I'm saying is if you get these huge studios to bundle with the networks that they own, and you parse off the content and you strip the content off other platforms that have been this huge platform like a Hulu that literally has gotten big only because it all it does is just stream cable TV shows.
Yeah.
I
So
was
the
gonna
only thing
say-
it's going to have are cable TV
I
shows,
thought-
not network
I want to
television.
go back to. I thought this was the case, and I had to Google it to make sure. You can actually pay for Prime by itself now.
Just for Prime
Just for
Video.
video?
Yeah, it's $8.99 a month just for Prime Video.
Oh, okay. Well, there
Yeah.
you go.
That'd be worth
Yeah,
it.
they
okay.
started that last year. Like I thought that was the case. I just wanted to make sure because I know it was relatively new.
Yeah.
But they started last year. You could pay $8.99 a month for Prime Video. They actually offer just Prime in general at a monthly fee of $12.99 a month now, or you
It's
could pay
cheaper
the,
to pay a year.
yeah, or you could pay the
Yeah.
119,
Yeah,
like
it's
the 120
definitely cheaper a year.
Yeah, it is definitely cheaper
Yeah.
a year.
But again, the question is, do the networks along partnered with the studios that own them have enough content to outpace and ultimately outplay Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime?
oh, they could. I mean,
are the
Disney Plus is already beginning to ramp up. What they only had pretty much the Mandalorian last year, but now they're starting to offer that they're putting two Marvel series a year.
Even apart from original content, is there enough there in their library they already have to? I mean, you think about every single show that's been on network television. If they have that catalog and they put it on their service, we were talking about this with CBS.
Yeah.
If CBS literally made CBS All Access bundled with certain premium movies that you could only get there that were fantastic, amazing films from Paramount,
Yeah.
and you couldn't get those on Netflix or anywhere else, would that be something that's worth $10? And would that be, again, something that would keep you from going to I mean, if Netflix loses their entire catalog and all they have are originals,
yeah.
the problem is
I would go to the
Yeah.
other streaming
Yeah.
services.
well, and would even Netflix be able to survive? How can they spend as much money on those original content?
Right.
well, and that's
They're
my
not going to
point.
lower their
Yeah.
price.
They're
And
not.
They're
That
never
was
gonna lower
my
their price.
and that was my point when I mentioned that. It's like if all they have to rely on is original content, like how are they going to survive? Because I'm not going to pay $16 a month to Netflix
Well,
to watch The Witch. I mean,
I will say, I went before I was getting Game of Thrones other ways. I paid $15 a month to have through Amazon to have the HBO
I
channel
only
just
did
to
that-
watch Game of Thrones.
I only did it
And
when
as
Game
soon
of
as
Thrones
Game of Thrones
aired.
was over, I
You're
cut
done.
it
You
off.
cancel.
But I'm saying as soon as the next season of The Witcher comes out, I'll pay Netflix $15 a month, and when that show's over, I'll cancel it. It's the same thing.
yeah,
So it's I think people would be willing to pay for certain
yeah.
original content, but
Yeah.
they're not going to just keep it. I've had Netflix since it came out.
Yeah, since
like
it
I had
started
it back when
streaming.
it was DVDs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always used it, and I wouldn't cancel it for the world unless they
But again, and no offense, but you're kind of like the die-hard. You're one of those who were in the gate right at the beginning, and I think there's a lot of us who are.
Well, they've
who
offered
now-
me something.
Well,
If
exactly.
they quit offering me something, I'm
Right.
going to quit offering you my money.
True. And that's my only question moving forward with these streaming services is if they can
Yeah.
offer a greater catalog that seems more interesting plus original content.
Yeah.
If Netflix is not appealing enough because all of their catalog, I mean, that's the thing. I honestly don't know. I mean, other than your network television shows, I mean, even Parks and Rec, which I'm going through right now for the first time, is an NBC show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I only have so long until that's on Peacock.
Yeah.
And yet, when that launches, it's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get it for
I'm
that
not-
one
yeah, I'm
show.
not getting it.
But as these services start to ramp up, it's going to be interesting to see how much more of the catalog that Netflix has now dwindle to the point of where it's just B movies and original content. And is that going to be worth that
Yeah.
$15
And that was
price
the point
tag?
I was trying to make. When you said, why would they care? I think you meant, why would the other services care? I thought you
Yeah.
meant, why would Netflix
Oh,
care?
yeah, no, why would- yeah.
That's
Well, of
what I'm
course
saying.
they'll care.
I was agreeing with you. I wasn't the CBS. Peacock, HBO Max, they're not going to care at all.
No,
and I never
no.
thought they would. I was just saying Netflix and Amazon and Hulu are going to be
No,
hurting
they're going to be hurting
because
bad, yeah.
they have nothing.
And
It's going to be a war.
It's a war. A war that we don't need right now because we got enough going on in the world.
That's true.
All right, guys. I think that is going to do it for this episode. But you can always send in your thoughts and what you think about the streaming wars.
That's true.
Are you happy with HBO Max? Or do you even care? Email us and tell us at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. That's right, guys.
That sounds good.
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. Guess where it's at?
I have no idea.
On that camera up there.
What?
Hey,
That one?
our studio cam.
Holy crap.
Right there in the bottom of your screen.
Huh.
I see it.
Can you look at it? Right? Yeah, you're looking right at it,
It's
Sean.
beautiful.
Oh, my gosh.
RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
You read that backwards. That's insane.
I mean, I can
that's
do
awesome. That's insane.
that. Yeah.
That's a cool trick.
You know, I'm privileged.
All right, guys. I think that is going to do it for this episode. So remember, we didn't even tell everybody.
Oh,
we
yeah.
Our
might
big
want to
news.
let people
That's
know.
pretty
This
big.
is not good because now nobody's even watching this show right
Quarantine
now.
drive-ins
everybody's-
over.
They turned it off.
Yeah, quarantine drive-in is done.
That's done.
That's big news.
The last one was last week.
that
Yeah.
was last week.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I don't think anybody watched it.
My dad did.
Oh, he
And
did? Oh,
Keith's
hey.
dad did.
Oh, well,
Probably.
Two dads watched it. Did your dad watch it?
no, they don't care. That's fine. I
Man.
don't. They can
But
watch.
we
they
do
got
have-
they got Netflix.
We do have other news.
That's true.
Yeah, we have to mention this because just for 1 week, 1 week only.
Yep.
Next week we are actually going to be switching our day to Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So
9
we are
p.m.
going to same time as usual, 9 p.m.
We don't
Facebook
care
and
what
YouTube.
curfews are in place, 9 p.m.
It's true.
Curfews. I mean, come
Call
on.
Andy. We
We're
don't
worried-
give up.
Come on, Papa. Papa Andy. Come at me, bro.
I just
Bring
think,
your curfew.
I think they need to rename
can't be
Papa
doing
John's
that.
Papa Andy's.
Oh.
Papa
Papa
Andy's.
I ain't gonna lie. If Papa John's did a Papa Andy special,
Ooh,
I'd be
Wow.
all over that. They
I
like they
wouldn't.
supersize
I'm not a
it.
huge
You know?
fan of Papa John's. I know that's your
No.
go-to, but I
It's
don't.
not my.
Oh,
go.
oh,
I
thought
mean,
it
I'll
was.
go to it. I don't hate it. Like some people hate. Papa
Oh, I don't
John's.
hate it,
Yeah.
but
I don't hate Papa John's, but it's
my
like
thing
I
is
said.
they're always
Papa.
the most expensive. Is why I never go.
Yeah,
with
they
them.
never have any
True.
good deals.
Never.
I like Domino's.
Yes, that's my go-to.
But
is
Domino's came back and they've gotten expensive.
Wow.
I don't
I'm
know. I
telling you.
never
We gotta-
spend
we
anywhere
gotta-
near
we
as
gotta
much.
wrap this
yeah, we
up.
do. We
We're
can have
ranting and
we
raving
can have
about
the
it.
whole nother segment.
we can
right
have the
here.
pizza conversation
We
on
need
a
to-
Vices segment.
Vices
We just
segment.
need to remember these segments. We always think of them and we forget them.
Ranting should be one of our vices.
That we should. That's a good one.
That's true.
How about we end the show now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be back on Monday
Next-
night,
just next week?
just next week.
Just next week, Monday
Yeah.
night, 9 p.m.
My fault. Sorry.
No.
No.
It's look, we're a team, okay? We're just like we're a great state of Kentucky.
We make
We're
it
in
work.
this together.
Next slide, Kenneth.
We are in this together. Oh, dropped it. Been learning that sign language,
Oh
man.
my God! I
That's
do
right.
not watch that at all,
Well,
so I have no idea what
When
you
you're
just
part
did.
of the media, you
but
have
it's funny.
to. It's sign
Yeah,
language.
I don't watch it. My wife listens to it every day. I'm just like, you listening to Andy again? She's like, yes.
Gotta listen to Papa Andy. All right, guys.
I read the highlights in the news the next
Yeah.
day.
Trust me, that's all that's
I never
warranted.
ever watch the news, but that's a story for another time.
All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
so until next time, we'll see you right here on the Red Moon Podcast.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.